Hey world, this is Maya from TN Politics with Maya. I'm very happy to meet you for another episode of TN Politics. And today we're starting a really interesting series on the European Women's Lobby 35th anniversary, dedicated on what has happened more than a quarter of a century of history. This is a lot. In the European women's movement. And we're going to elaborate on this with different parts of the history, of the team, of the strategic, visionary management of the organization. And we're starting with Colette De Troy. Welcome, Colette.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Wow, thank you for agreeing on such short notice. And I'm actually really glad today. We're also joking that it's a very specific episode of Wine and Politics with Maya and with Colette. we realized that this is going to shake off the camera panic easier. So, thank you for joining us. So, as you know, what we do in this series, we try to explore a bit more how leadership feels when it comes to European politics. And I'm really interested to see how it has felt throughout the years, because you're no longer working for the lobby. So I will dig into this. But let's start from the start. How did you get involved with the European Women's Lobby?
It's funny because I didn't get involved with women's affairs, let's say. At that time, I was, in the beginning of the lobby, early 90s. And I was working in a women's cooperative on European information and training for women. At that time, Europe was smaller, but still it was an interesting cooperative, women's cooperative. And for reasons that would be too long to explain, we also were involved in the new technology of information. It means that we were before the internet.
Oh, wow.
We were starting no mouse with the computer, it was... And we were starting to use the electronic built-in boards, which was really the beginning. And at that time, I met Barbara Elfrich, the first Secretary General of the lobby, on this basis of the technology. And she was asking me how to use those new technologies for sending the news every week, the lobby and someone in the lobby. And maybe you can ask Marianne about that. But she was trying to fax every member one or two, of course, because you couldn't at that time, and so it has to start, and the paper blocked, and it blocked in the middle of the night, so you had to continue. And so that was how I started with the lobby. This was the first thing, and also because we were working, it was the cooperative was called CRU, and Center for Research and on European Women. So we were using this new technology for sending information, and we were in this women's small network at that time in Brussels.
Nice. But it's really interesting because now when I'm listening to you, this whole transition must have been very difficult for an organization to do. And now we are on the edge of trying to figure out what to do with artificial intelligence, for example, which I think is a comparable revolution, technological, human, whatever.
Revolution now will be greater.
Yeah,
I think.
Would it be?
Well, we can talk more about that, but I think it will. Well, this was just, the technology which changed. So we entered all the addresses, and we said with the computer, you push one button, and in place of doing 12, I think at that time it was 12.
The maximum.
Member states. No, member states, because 12. 13, 15, I don't know. And so in place of sending the 12, 15 faxes, you just push one button once a week, and everybody received that.
Wow.
So that seems.
No, but it's a
big,
very interesting reflection.
And also in the office, there was one computer who has electronic address. It was the Secretary General, I think, and the Secretary. So one or two computers had electronic address. All the rest has, just fax or letters. We send letters.
Actual physical letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, now this actually feels, I think there is a trend of letters coming back because it feels so much personal, because now we are drowning in unnecessary spam emails and everyone sends you everything. But so people are going back, I think, to letters because it's personal. Interesting. Okay, so how, and then you transitioned somehow when I was reading about you into a different role.
Yeah. Also because, then I made a kind of, Barbara asked me to do a kind of study of this organization, how to improve the communication inside the organization, which was quite similar to the first transition, let's say. And then I had this opportunity to replace Mary, which was Mary Collins, who was absent for maternity leave. So I had to take, and it was a great pleasure for me to come back to this, let's say, study on the real matters, which are, of course, technology is important, but the content was more, for me, more in adequacy with what
you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how this feels. And I've also, in different stages of my life, I've done things for the organization, but I always like to go back with the actual, like the tangible work that you do.
The core.
The reason why the organization exists. Yeah. Well, you've been for nearly 17 years a director of the Observatory Against Women. Can you describe, like, what is this body? How does it work? What was your daily life of doing this work?
Yeah, that was a wonderful time and beginning. I came, it was, I think, maybe 9 or 12 member states, as I said. So the observatory was smaller than, of course, than it was. I think there was one or two for each country. Some very few spoke English. A lot of spoke French. The Spanish, Italian, Greece all spoke French. The other English didn't, of course. And but the idea was to gather all the expertise from different countries and putting that together. See how we can really build something as European. There was nothing at European level at that time. The Commission continued to say that it was not competency of
it was not the
European Commission. And the members of the lobby, that really came from the members, as they found that violence against women was really the most important item in equality, in politics of equality, and every country. They found that violence against women was really at the main point, main obstacle to equality.
You cannot really work on anything else if this is not right, more or less.
And in all the country. So, and Mary started, I think she started with the observatory, and trying to organize how each member should nominate one expert. At that time, it was a bit artisanal, crafted. But each member, each country nominates someone, and all, I have to say that this group was phenomenal. The women coming from this group were absolutely wonderful,
knowledgeable. Yes,
knowledgeable.
it's a horrible
thank
word.
you. And the idea of going together and seeing all the countries so different, but from Greece to then after to Netherlands and or Italy and Spain to Germany, sharing and seeing that the problematic was the same, and of course politics sometimes were a bit different. Of course, some of the women's organization had some money to set up a refuge or something, but actually the situation were the same. And so that's how we started with unveiling the hidden data on violence against women. That was the first common work of the observatory. Mary found this wonderful title, Unveiling Hidden Data. But there were no data. So Mary went to the maternity leave, and I was working with the observatory members, asking them, okay, let's give us the data in your country. There was no data.
Nobody was collecting any data on this.
No, on the women violence against women, no. So finally they found, because they were quite clever and working hard, they found data, but it was absolutely not comparable. There was, in a country, there was a study on 100 women on violence, 100. Another country had 3,000 or 30,000 people interviewed, but it was women, men, on different forms of violence. So how do you unveil those data? So finally, we did something a bit qualitative, trying to see how all this data, what they said, and what they said was the same in all those different collection that you cannot say it's comparable because the methodology was different. But what you can say is that the results were the same. About 20% of women were victims of violence, 1 on 5, at least. All those different studies. So that was the basis also of a common word. So that's, if you ask me how we day-to-day working was, well, a lot of contact with personal contact with phone. We started a bit with the electronic mail, not much, but a bit. And twice a year we had 3 days meeting. So, and that's really build something together and build a common identity also of
the sense of belonging to this together, trying to fix it together.
Yeah.
But I must say that when you started and you said that the EC back then was saying that this is not of their competence, this sounds so strange to me now in 2025, because of course it's the competency of the EU. The EU is a union of values. So you cannot really say, well, I don't care if this is... So it's strange we've evolved.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we said, okay. And I think even in this report that we made, I think the conclusion was, so we need data, we need to know better, we need policy, and we need a directive, we said. Of course, that was, something like utopia, complete utopia.
Yeah. I want to ask you about, because it's very interesting to me what you're saying now, and I'm thinking that it will be interesting also for the people who are from your generation, also from the people from my generation, and also it will be very interesting for now people who are in their early 20s, starting their careers maybe in civil society or in the women's movement. I don't think we have enough of those conversations, is what I'm saying. So how do you think we can build a healthy intergenerational dialogue? And why is it not happening is my question, because it's so interesting.
Well, just ask. Just ask. Well, maybe also because older generation do not have time, not so much. That's also a thing. I don't know. Think probably. Well, like this celebration of the 35th anniversary of the lobby. It's like a special circumstances. So, in a special moment where you think, okay, we should think about what is the past, what is the future, and then you can organize this intergeneration. Otherwise, it's maybe too difficult because we are in the routine. Your generation, the younger one, are also involved in a very, busy life, and maybe not have time to ask. Stop and just discuss like that. So it's good to have some, from time to time, some.
It's good. I think we should try to do it not only around the birthdays of the lobby, but because this type of conversations, if we don't have them, we lose some part of the organizational memory. And I think that especially in the times where we need really to mobilize together as feminists, as civil society advocates, we need to know what has been happening. And I was also thinking of something else. There is a common sense of despair in the feminist movement lately with Trump, with all of the right-wing things happening. It's a bit, it's not sad, but people are a bit, God damn it, it's really not going the way that we want it to go. So I think that maybe looking back and seeing so much progress that has been done in the last 20 years, it's also a bit...
It's important. It's important to remember the progress, not only see. Sometimes I was also in desperation, despair, when I was working and say, oh, it's so long, it's so difficult to make it. And then I was thinking, my mother was, when she was 21, it means major person, she couldn't vote because she was in Belgium, and she could, my own mother, she couldn't vote when she was 21. So it means that she was not a person, a political citizen. So when I was thinking about that, okay, we did a long way. It's a long way, and we did a lot of progress. And so that's good to know that we did a lot of progress and we will not go back. I think that's important. Women will not go back. I think we have to know that, and to see that we will not give away the right we have. And we can see that with I was just thinking yesterday, I think, when I heard about the election in Poland. And in the radio, they explained that the new president will have this natalist policy, like in Hungary, like in several countries. They try to have this new natalist policy with, at the same time, nationalist policy, giving money and so on. So I asked myself, but does it work? And that was exactly the next question the journalist asked about someone. Is that working when we see it in Italy, in Hungary? No, it's not working. It's not because you offer women more money to make babies that they will make baby. And it's interesting. For me, this is a sign that women will not go back to the anterior,
the previous versions of what we had as rights.
I think no. And we have to know that. And it's difficult, but we are stronger. We are stronger. We have more right. We experience more right. It's not easy, and sometimes we are in a special and weird situation even in the feminist movement. But the right we have, we will not give back.
Yeah, that's I think a very strong message that we need really to remind ourselves daily.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is difficult when we are surrounded by news related to ban of abortion, going back on migration that we've already established we want to have as part of our society endeavor. So it's difficult, but we need to remind ourselves first, as you said, because the previous version of the political system really didn't work properly. So there's no need to go back on something that didn't work. But it's also because we really have evolved. We know more. We know more as a society. I was reading recently something about when we speak about parts of the EU where they have this going back to the traditional Christian values, for example. I like to read about the past and how that felt as political tools. And I read a very big study on Romania just before their leader, Ceausescu, fell in the late 80s. There was, and actually 70s and 80s, they had different policies on abortion, trying to not have abortion in their society because they wanted to have a big, like, workers' country where everyone is just at work. They have a lot of children and abortion is not part of their society. This is what they had in mind. So when you look at the statistics of what was happening with the abortion rates, there are two very visible trends. Obviously, when you ban abortions still happen, but they happen in worse conditions. So it's not about
we know that. Yeah.
And the second thing is that there is an expansion of the places they need it in orphanages. Why? Because if somebody doesn't want to have a pregnancy and a baby, they don't want to have a pregnancy and a baby. Exactly. And they figure out a way to not have that, either as a pregnancy or as a child. And what happened later on is that still to this day, so this happened in the 70s and 80s in Romania, to this day, the whole region has problems with deinstitutionalization, closing down the institution, trying to have a good quality of life of the people who are raised in institutions. So this takes half a century to fix. It was so embedded in the society, in the political system, and it was so wrong. So we still cannot fix it. So it's very strange that now we have politicians who I'm pretty sure know of this, because this is not a secret. It's common knowledge if you want to do social policies. They know it's wrong and they still push the button to go back.
They probably think that women are weaker than they are. And that they can manipulate more, I think.
Speaking about the women's strength, I saw something in your farewell article in when you were leaving the lobby. They were asking you what was the most important moment for you, and you mentioned an event in the early 2000s. Can you mention this as well here?
Yeah, that was incredibly also a bit weird, but also something absolutely not in the work or normal work of the lobby. It was, but I think that is also something that I loved so much, working in the lobby with all those women, ready to think and to think about rights, solidarity, and having different ways of thinking. So we had, because I was also involved in the board of Equality Now, which was an international organization, and working with Evan Slair on the vaginas monologues and everything. So in the beginning of the 2000, there was this war against the Taliban that was apparently the Taliban would be finally gone, let's say, that there was a big hope for the country to rebuild.
To recover,
recover. And so we discussed together. I was in a meeting, don't remember why, with some women in international, I don't know, at the United Nations. Sometimes you are in a big meetings, and after that you have a glass of wine and thinking, we have to do something for Afghanistan after those Talibans. Now women should be there. Women should be involved in the country. So we thought that it would be wonderful to have the opportunity to gather strong women from Afghanistan or the diaspora of Afghanistan, putting them together to discuss how they can rebuild the country and take some opportunity. The idea, and we could have the money because there were some American there with a lot of money, and
there's always an American with a lot of money when you discuss things like that.
But of course, the meeting couldn't take place in New York because of the Americans and Afghans, and maybe without Geneva or London. But the best thing would be Brussels, because then also could involve the parliament and the external affair, which was not named like that. But so we decided. I came back from New York asking the Secretary General at that time was Mary McPhail, and the President, Denis Fuchs, a French one, wonderful woman, and asking, what about organizing that kind of summit of strong Afghan women in Brussels? Well, of course, they said, well, we don't have money, no problem. Money is not a problem. So we found a place in the commission. The meeting was chaired by Navi Pillay, who was at that time the UN Commissioner for Human Rights, I think. And the summit would take place in a closed closed room with only Afghan women, no external. The only one was the moderator was Navi Pillay, but she would just facilitate because there were also different
of course
tendencies, and so they came together, and that was incredible to make all of them coming from all over the world, countries like Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan. They did some were refugee with no papers and not even a passport. So we had the help of the Belgian embassy, foreign ministries, and so that was a great moment where, I could find also the importance of organization like the lobby, with the other international women's rights organization or feminist majority in the US, Equality Now, VD, who were ready to give money for the lobby because the lobby was good and strong and very solid organization. And also how with this strong organization, you had this flexibility and the openness of the president, the board. She had to consult the board and the board, and everybody was, very quickly mobilized because we had this idea in September, and I think the summit was in November or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very quickly, or early December, I think. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it was
very impressive. I'm thinking that we are maybe at a point where we need to, as a lobby, maybe go back to this type of peace building role as well, because the world it's a very messy place, as everyone knows. But there is the war in Ukraine, there is the conflict between Gaza and Israel, there is Sudan, there is Yemen. There are so many places where there is no peace, and then in many cases women pay the price of the lack of peace.
Yeah, but I think everywhere you can have women struggling a lot to have for the peace, and women and peace is everywhere, and especially where you mentioned, I don't know about Ukraine, but I know that in Gaza, Israel, you have women working together for peace. And I think, I don't know if the same in Ukraine and Russia, but might be. And in other parts of the world where I think it's important to know each other and to encourage and support and cooperate and feel this is so empowering to meet women from other parts of the world who share the same values and but are in other situation. Of course, we were in peace. We are a very rich continent. In Europe, it's very rich if you compare to other parts of the world. But we share the same problems and value, and it's important to make alliance, and it's important for everybody. I think for us, for the lobby, and for the possible allies and support. That's certainly something we need to do.
I'm also thinking of when you see Europe as a continent, I think it makes it easier in a way to see how close we are to each other and how dependent we are to each other. And maybe it will be interesting for me to hear your thoughts on what do you think were the problems of women back when you were working in the lobby? In Europe, let's generalize, it's a very difficult question, but if you try to compare the European average woman and her problems before and the average European woman nowadays, what would be the problems you see?
I think I think it's hope. Because the problem now, because I think we had this idea that we go forward all the time, and now, as you mentioned just before, now we have this idea that we are going backward, and that's true that sexual rights are endangered, that poverty is increasing, and so that's certainly something that we as average women, I think we have the difficulty to get hope that the climate, the general advancement, and will not destroy. We are not destroying the planet. That's something new that we were not thinking so much. Of course, ecology was already something in our mind, but not as much. And of course, we were, I think, the same values and the same problematic are still on the table. Violence against women is still something touching enormously women, average everywhere. So, but now it's more recognized. It's not something that you can hidden say pretend that do not exist in your country. That's not true. At that time, it was very, very difficult to make it acknowledgeable or recognized.
It's now it also comes in different shapes, I think, and with the digital violence, I was thinking a lot about this, that even in my own bubble, which is full of strong women, like full really of empowered women, who even the ones that would not call themselves feminists, they are feminists. Maybe they don't want to call them, but they are very, very empowered, aware, and using their strength daily. I have, in the last 6 months, 3 cases of people around me who went through separation and were publicly, digitally bullied through their former partners. Publicly, in Facebook, even on LinkedIn, which is not a personal kind of storytelling platform. And all of them are again, educated, okay. I was so surprised that their partners would be that dumb to do this online and that cruel. But I also realized that if this is happening again in such a scale, and people are sometimes, people don't really see digital violence as serious as it is. They're like, yeah, people are just writing online. But I know, especially for two of the women, because I'm very close to them, and I know it is violence, because you're hurt, you're mentally hurt, you're physically affected because you are humiliated publicly. And I don't even speak about things like revenge porn or things like this, but just even being digitally humiliated in front of a lot of your friends is a form of violence, and it happens from former partners very, very often.
Yeah, there are some new forms of violence, and I don't think that policies are there are enough policies on that. Or research. I think what else would be the main still, I think, economic equality. It's so difficult to reach. Education, and I think sometimes, I think generally, I would say something very general, but I would say that now society is more violent than before. In words, between young people, and divided also, violent and divided between boys and girls, and quite more sexualized in a sense, and divided. When I was young, there was no pink bicycle,
There were just
didn't
bicycles.
exist. There was bicycle, There's not bicycle for girls or boys. And now you think that, we are quite more equal. We talk about lots of equal things, but when you see the clothes, the toys for younger children, it's quite more, divided between boys, and so that's also influence. And I think this is the economy, the way economy works also.
The sexualizing economy. Yeah. I hate seeing this in Halloween. The costumes are killing me, because I have two boys and a daughter. So
you can no explanation.
It's so clear when you try to have Halloween costumes. A lot of the boys ones are related to imaginations, being ninja, being warriors. A lot of the young girls ones are really inappropriate. It's really bad. And the princess, okay, I can accept, because sometimes we all want to be princesses. But a lot of the, especially teenage girls ones, are really bad. Really, really, really bad. Yeah. Okay. I want to finish on a positive note. So let's forget about the sexualizing economy.
But as I said, I think let's be positive. As I said, women are strong. Women will still know better their rights and their value. I think that's something important. Even if teenagers are influenced and are attacked through social network quite more, and I think this is a new trend and danger, which is quite more accurate and strong than before. But I think it's something we struggle better.
But there is also a lot of resources around, and I think that this is also different, because you can get the support around. It's not enough for sure, but it exists. So,
and it's not your fault. That's something, you say, even if it's hard, but you can better analyze. I think so.
I agree. Okay. I always ask my guests two of the same questions at the end. One of them is what makes you happy, and the last one is what makes you hopeful for the future.
Well, it's happy. I think make me happy. I love to have great discussion with friends. A glass of wine make me happy. To see nature. Very simple things actually. Having time make me happy to well, to reflect, to exchange, that makes me happy.
That's nice. The simplicity, actually, that's the happiness. It lies in the simplistic things. Yeah. Okay. And what makes you hopeful for the future?
Women.
Okay, that's the greatest answer ever.
I think women makes me happy, even if it's, I know it's hard. And that's why I appreciated so much my work in the lobby. It was because women are so full of, they are the future. And they are strong, and of course they are not all nice. I know, so I will not idealize, but I think this makes me hopeful that the world will not be so bad.
Okay, that's a great finale to a great conversation, Colette. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
It was very interesting for me, and I'm sure that it would also be very interesting for our audience to listen to your reflection of your time in EWL, but also on the processes surrounding this. And thank you for being with us in the last maybe an hour. We will see, because I don't know still how much time we did, but thank you for sticking up with us, and thank you for being part of this conversation. There will be a few more episodes around the 35th anniversary, so happy birthday, Lobby.
Happy
be healthy,
birthday.
Live forever.
Absolutely.
Solve problems forever, and let's have less problems. But thank you very much for being part of this community, and be kind, be happy, be hopeful for the future, and see you soon. Thank you.